capped, as far as we know. I did some work for NOAA back in September and October, and I was up in Maine doing some work for them for about a month. And so I have friends that are there, and they are typically the people that were dispatched to this disaster early on, week one. And after the second week, it's just kind of like, oh, they haven't stopped this thing. I wonder what's going on. So I checked in with my friends, and they said, well, we're here in Grand Isle. There's oil on the shore. I said, well, that's not what the news is telling me. It's not what I'm hearing at all. I hear things are, it's an oil spill, and it's horrible, but what's the real deal? Well, the oil is here. We can't release our footage, so the news doesn't get it. They're under a media freeze, is what they were told by the government, and they couldn't let the footage out. I'm probably going to ruin their career now that this is being recorded, but
he won't be able to put it.
Yeah. It elicited me to do something, because I'm not affiliated with a news broadcast company. I'm not affiliated with a broadcaster. I'm an independent filmmaker, and they said basically, if you want to know what's going on, you got to get up here. So I basically dropped everything for my summer plans and my other productions and trips, for the most part, and headed up to Louisiana. And I'm originally from Arkansas, so I kind of, I've been to Grand Isle before, loved it. Won't tell you those stories tonight. But what I found when I got there, innocently enough, I went there on the idea of doing a little film about the loss of inspiration. As I mentioned earlier, the Gulf was my inspiration, as it is with so many other people. And having this happen in the engine of the world. The Gulf of Mexico serves as an engine. We always hear about this loop current. Well, this is an engine that circulates water. It's where big fin tuna breed. It's where where marine mammals are, sperm whales, bottlenose dolphins, sea turtles, of course, the bird life, our water, our health. What happens in the Gulf and happens in our water happens inside us. And so as a storyteller and filmmaker, and a storyteller in the factual sense, I had to do something. And when I got there, I thought I was going to do this little film on inspiration. But it was like walking into a John Grisham novel. It was like not having access to anything. Now, a little bit about my background, and as Eric had mentioned, those that have seen The Cove, is about the dolphin drive fisheries in Taiji, Japan. And I first went there back in 2000. I've been there about 4 or 5 times since. And I was with my friend Hardy, and on one occasion I was with my translator, and they came at me, knocking me out of the way, coming at me with knives, threatening my life, because I was filming on a public street overlooking Hatajiri Bay, where they do this, the dolphin slaughter. And so here I was I've had this experience. This is my first rodeo. I've gone into places, and a lot of other places that I've gone into other than Japan, where I've done like covert filming for Humane Society, the United States Humane Society, and other organizations. And I had, they threatened my life. They tried to kidnap us later on in the week. We had to go to the police. We had to do all these things. It was in another country, but here I am in the United States, and worse things are happening to me. Worse things, because I'm a citizen, and I have my freedom of the press, freedom of speech, right in my back pocket, like everybody else does. Absolutely no access. People were being threatened. Nobody could talk with you because of these non-disclosure agreements. As a filmmaker trying to make sense of a beautiful story, make a beautiful story out of a disaster, I still don't know what I'm doing. I still don't. The people that did talk with me, even though they were under these non-disclosure agreements, said, we need something to be done. We need someone to tell our stories. So I talked with quite a lot of people, the obvious, the fishermen, the crabbers, the shrimpers, the families, but also the people that are coming in from Texas, hired by these third-party subcontractors, that are coming in, told that they're able to get this much payment, and this is what their job is, this is what their hours are, we'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. Well, they don't do any of that. And these guys are in the worst possible conditions. They're not wearing the proper protection against the chemicals, these dispersants, as well as the oil. And they aren't getting paid. They weren't getting paid. They had been there a month already by the time I got there. And it was just unbelievable how it unlocked this other element. Again, with my background in psychology and anthropology, I still want to, I'm cognizant of that, these areas to pursue. but I also want to put my, my background into some use. It's a story about how bad things are for us. And I'm not Chicken Little. I'm not trying to be a doomsayer. I'm not trying to say that everywhere we go is like that motel that's creepy and weird. There's good places in the world. But we have to get access. And what I feel is my responsibility is that that's what I am. I'm too stupid to know how to do anything else. I like to have a camera, I like to get in the water, I like the critters, I like people. And trying to figure out this story is a hard thing. Eric's actually going to be helping me out with this, and I'm really excited about that. He's as busy as I am, so I don't know how we're going to be able to get it done without a team of elves or something.
Every once in a while.
But it's really kind of like the New Zealand cameraman that I know use this term called spray it, where you just film everything. As a documentarian, you really have to film everything. Don't just have your blinders on to saying, okay, I'm going to do a pretty film on this. I don't really know too many filmmakers that work in my similar line of work that go on that sort of direct approach. I always look at films in three ways: your concept, then filming in the production, and then post-production and the editing. And all three of them can be completely different. There could be one thread or two threads that stitch them all together. However, it's always this metamorphosis, it's always this evolution and process. I really don't know at this point what I'm going to be doing. I'm going back to the Gulf as soon as this other film is over, or maybe even before.
How much footage would you say you have at this point?
Well, I've teamed up with another production company in New Orleans who's been covering this since before the Deepwater Horizon went down. The Deepwater Horizon was a nightmare well, as we've been starting to hear. These guys have been following what's been going on there on so many different levels that it is mind-boggling how it all connects. The oil rupture is a huge deal, but it's this much compared to what else is going on. And again,
as the flare disappears, we know what's going on.
I'll be on Bourbon Street.
And for those of you who haven't followed the
dancing
Cove,
for a living.
Just some background on the Cove. I mean, if we looked at the killing of dolphins in Japan, and for those, how many of you have seen the Cove? Just a few of you. So you need to Netflix it. Basically, Rick O'Barry used to train flipper back in the day. Said it's enough. I'm tired of seeing dolphins in captivity.
Yeah.
After one died in his arms, and he decided to start finding places where they're in captivity, letting them go, and it led him to Louis Sepoyas, who decided, well, where are the biggest things? And there was this one little cove, and not to give away the ending, but for the dolphins that didn't make it to Flipper or to SeaWorld, they would just round them up and spear them to death in the cove that would turn blood red. Yeah. And the movie, I saw it as it opened at the Naples Film Festival, at the end it says, to stop this kind of inhumane treatment, text, blah, blah, blah. And I saw 1,200 people just open their text. And it makes the power of independent film, in other words, is very strong. And so not to jump you into expecting too much out of what you'll get from Deepwater Horizon, but you're looking at the potential for another film that could do something that big, and Larry's gutsy enough to do it. So I applaud you, and there may be some other quick questions, but I know you have some things you want to show that you might want to show.
Good point about the texting, because that's